I posted a video on my, reposted one on my story on Instagram about somebody who'd put silicone carbide grips on their guns, just like what I do, and I received a bunch of questions. So I thought it was easiest just to make a video answering what these grips are, why I have them like this, and kind of at a broad stroke, how you do them. So what this is, silicone carbide comes in just a bag loose. It looks like sand, I suppose, like really fine sand or glitter, something like that. Just loose sand in a bag. Then through a process of using forms of epoxy or JB Weld, you permanently attach that to the gun, which then gives it a skateboard tape like finish, and it's somewhat permanent. I'm sure I could use a sander or grinder, chip away at this and get a lot of it off, but I don't know that it would come off super clean. It would probably mess up the grip somewhat, so it's a somewhat permanent modification. That's the only downside of doing it. Like, I'll talk through both guns, but on a polymer frame gun like this, where it's somewhat permanent, if you mess up, you're kind of like, how do we salvage this? Or on my steel frame Walthers, I just have the factory grip panels done. So for this, if you mess it up and you need to abandon ship, it's a replaceable grip panel. So anyway, that's what it is. It's just extra traction. It's just an alternate option to doing the Talon grip tape. This is just permanent, but it's more or less the same thing. Talon just doesn't make a good option for the PDP because you can kind of see a little bit of the backstrap exposed. It's got a different kind of finish. It's not just totally flat. And apparently, as of when I emailed them, this has been a year or two ago, the Talon didn't have a good option for making it stick to that. For the finish I wanted, I think they call it like granulate or something like that. It looks like skateboard tape. So anyway, that was the reason for doing this, because I couldn't get the Talon grip tapes I like for this gun. And so I messaged my friend John, and I knew he had some of it on a couple of his guns. Like, hey, could we do this to one of my guns? And John, being such a great friend, he's like, yes, of course. I'll bring the stuff. We'll do arts and crafts. So I picked my least favorite or most worn PDP, knowing that I may not like it, and had him just do one gun to begin with. Then I liked it so much, I've got pretty much done to all my guns now, with a couple exceptions. So let me talk through how you do this. First, John taped everything off with painter's tape, just the blue painter's tape, or you can use masking tape. If you look at the lines, you can see like very carefully traced, basically looking at anywhere that you don't want to have that carbide at, making sure you keep it well away from the mag release, away from the trigger, like that kind of stuff. So anyway, it's having good edges, just taping off anywhere you don't want it to be. The other thing I stipulated was on the back strap of the gun, I wanted this top part to not have that, just because if I was getting a draw on the gun, I got it a little bit low. I wanted to be able to move my hand if I needed to. The real main points that I use for grip are everywhere my support hand goes, is the most important part. The firing hand normally stays in the gun for the most part, but I wanted to have it more aggressive for my support hand to stick on the gun. So anyway, after it's all taped off, he mixed just the regular JB Weld, where it's like, is it black and red maybe? The two different tubes, mix it together, and then just with a rubber glove, basically just like gently smeared it all over the frame, just with his finger, and I think maybe a little like he had some little tool. But anyway, just a thin coat of it all over the frame. People are going to wonder what grit he used. He used 4670. 4670 is the grit John uses on my guns because it feels the most like skateboard tape, and I didn't want something super sharp like some people like 36 grit, which apparently will rip your hands open if you're not very, very calloused. I didn't want anything that sharp. So anyway, puts a thin coat of the JB Weld on. You could layer it or make it thicker if you wanted to change the contour of the gun. This, I didn't need to change the contour. I just wanted to make the carbide stick. So a thin coat of that everywhere. Then the carbide is just in a little bag. Again, it looks like sand. So then holding the gun over just like a cardboard box, basically with the flaps cut off it, just sprinkled the carbide back and forth, filling in all the areas along the grip. So anywhere you still see the JB Weld, which is the reason for having the parts that you don't want to get carbide on taped. That way you keep it out of the trigger area, obviously, the mag release, stuff like that. So again, holding it over the box, sprinkling carbide on it, making sure it's all, at every angle, stuff like that. Then after that, just extremely gently tapping on it with his finger just to make sure the carbide's stuck in the JB weld, but not pushing down on it so hard that the carbide goes into the JB weld where it's flush or it's not on the top, because obviously you want to have that, that finish, that aggressive finish. That's what you're hanging on to. So anyway, once you got that done, took the slide off. I just had it sitting like this on a table with just a book on the dust cover holding it upright. Set a timer, let it go for about 15 minutes. After that, pulled off the tape, which gives you all these clean lines because you don't want the painter's to completely dry. Otherwise, the painter's tape could get very stuck around the edges. You want those clean lines. After you pulled off the painter's tape, anywhere that looks like it needed a little bit more, just fill it in with a tick more. Again, just holding the gun over the box or paper plate, whatever you want to use. Just sprinkling carbide over the top of it, making sure it all looks filled in and good. After that, same deal. Back, just prop up with something sitting on the dust cover. Let it sit for about a day, and then good to go. Once it's done, end up just kind of like scraping on it or just using your hands on it. The loose stuff will fall off just over a trash can or a garage, or maybe in your house if you want to make a mess inside your house, whatever. And then after that, basically good to go. It's a little bit sharp to begin with, just when it's fresh and new. Afterwards, it'll wear in a little bit. Parts that get the most use will fill in with dead skin. I know people love to talk about this stuff. So if you look at the back, so I'm left-handed, this is the back left side of the grip. Back in here, it'll start to fill in with dead skin. The questions I get a lot are, does this ever need to be redone or does it wear out? All I've done is just brush it out with a nylon brush if it gets too full of stuff. So it just like it feels like new again, honestly. So once it starts to get full, you can kind of a little bit. Like on this side, you can almost see where my fingers contact the frame, just the lines. So anyway, just use a nylon brush, brush it out with all the dead skin, and after that, it's good to go again. So I've used these for a couple years now. No real issues, and like I said, it's just kind of permanent skateboard tape on the gun. For the steel frame, basically same thing. This one's just has the removable grip panels. I used to use the factory grips that come on the gun. I like the contour anyway. Adding the carbide makes them just a tick thicker. So with this one, take the grip panels off the gun, still tape around the edges, whatever, and then you just, watch the holes basically. So you can still put the screws back in there. They don't get covered over, but that's basically it. Just did the same procedure on this one and replace the grips in the gun. So for the steel frame, it's easier if you mess up. For the polymer frame, it's a bit more permanent if you don't like it or something like that. So anyway, that's pretty much it. Over a couple years of using them, no issues. It does add just a bit of thickness with both guns, and I like that. And I just like the fact that it's, again, it feels like skateboard tape. Otherwise, if you have any questions, drop them below. But this has been quite good for all my guns, and I am a fan anyway. So hopefully that answers any questions you have or about the process. If there's anything I didn't answer, or if you have any questions, feel free to drop them below.